He said he'd always provide for his kids, that no matter what happened between us, he'd be there. And for a while, I believed him. But after the breakup, things changed, and fast. The calls stopped. The money never came. And when I finally turned to the legal system for help, I found out something that no one warns you about. He didn't have to disappear to escape his responsibility. He just had to know how to play the game. Here's the truth most people don't find out until it's too late. There are legal loopholes, quiet, technical, and completely overlooked. Some husbands know how to use them. Some are even coached through it. And by the time you realize what's happening, you're the one left chasing answers, footing the bills, and trying to make sense of a system that was supposed to protect your kids, not leave them behind. This isn't about bitterness. It's about reality. Because right now, there are mothers holding 2 jobs just to survive while their ex walks free, living better, paying nothing, and staying completely within the law. It sounds unbelievable, but it happens more than you'd think. In this video, we're going to uncover 4 legal loopholes that some husbands use to escape child support. And none of these are myths. These are real tactics that have worked over and over again, because the law doesn't always reward what's right. Sometimes it rewards what's written. By the end of this video, you'll understand how these loopholes work, why they're so hard to fight, and what you can do to protect yourself if you ever see the warning signs. Let's start with the one that hides in plain sight and hits the hardest when money suddenly goes missing. It usually starts with a story. I lost my job, I'm between gigs, money's tight right now. At first, it sounds believable. Life happens. But weeks turn into months, and the support never shows up. You check with the court, and what you hear next doesn't make sense. He's technically meeting his obligations because on paper, he barely earns anything. This is what some people call strategic poverty, a loophole hidden in plain sight. And it works disturbingly well. Some men lower their income on purpose. They quit high-paying jobs and switch to part-time. They suddenly start working under the table, or they claim self-employment but never show a profit. It's not that they can't pay. It's that they've figured out how to make it look like they can't. Child support is calculated based on income that can be verified, W-2S, pay stubs, tax returns. But if someone manipulates that paper trail, the court has very little to go on. And if you try to challenge it, the burden falls on you to prove they're lying. You have to prove that they're capable of earning more, that they're choosing to underperform. And unless you have hard evidence, the system often lets it slide. I've seen cases where a man went from earning 6 figures to suddenly pursuing a passion with no income. He lived off savings, moved in with a relative, and made sure nothing was in his name. On paper, he looked broke. Meanwhile, the mother of his children was selling furniture to pay for groceries. Oh, this tactic works because the system assumes honesty, but it was never built for those who know how to bend it. And once the support order drops to a few dollars a month, sometimes even $0, it's incredibly hard to raise it again, no matter how unfair it feels. It's one of the most frustrating things a parent can go through, watching someone dodge responsibility while still living comfortably. Because the truth is, it's not always about having money, it's about hiding it the right way. But some don't stop at plain poor. Some just vanish completely. And that's where the next loophole begins. Sometimes they don't fight you in court. They don't call, they don't argue, they just move quietly and strategically. One day they're in the same state, the next they're not, and suddenly child support becomes a whole new nightmare. Relocating isn't illegal, but when it's done to avoid enforcement, it becomes one of the most frustrating legal loopholes there is. Because when a person crosses state lines, they don't just change their zip code, they change the entire process. Enforcement agencies now have to communicate across jurisdictions. Paperwork gets delayed, cases stall, and in the meantime, the person who moved just keeps living their life with no consequences. Some states are tougher on enforcement than others. In one state, unpaid child support might lead to suspended licenses, wage garnishment, or even jail time. In another, the system is overloaded, understaffed, or just doesn't have the power to chase someone aggressively. And the men who use this loophole, they move to states with looser rules, fewer court appearances, or longer processing times. It's not a fresh start, it's an escape plan. I've heard stories of fathers relocating several times in just a few years. Each time they move, the case has to be reopened, re-verified, reevaluated. Meanwhile, the parent left behind is stuck waiting, filing more paperwork and re-explaining the same situation to a brand new caseworker who barely has time to care. By the time anything gets processed, months, sometimes years have passed. The missed payments pile up, but the system never seems to catch up. And here's the cruel part. The court order still exists. The obligation hasn't technically gone away, but without the power to enforce it across state lines quickly, it might as well not exist at all. For some, this move is tactical. For others, it's deliberate abandonment. Either way, the outcome is the same: silence, no support, no accountability, and a trail of unpaid promises that no one seems able to collect. But if relocation is about vanishing, the next loophole is about staying visible, just long enough to weaponize the system from the inside. Not every escape plan looks like running away. Sometimes it looks like coming back with paperwork in hand. They file for custody or visitation or request a full hearing to reconsider the arrangement. But they don't do it because they want more time with the kids. They do it to pause the clock on child support. It's one of the most manipulative tactics out there, using the legal system as a shield, because when someone files for custody, the court often reevaluates the financial terms of the original agreement, and during that time, everything slows down. Payments can be paused, amounts can be adjusted, hearings can be delayed again and again until nothing's moving and nothing is being paid. It's not always obvious at first. The parent says they want more involvement, more time, a better relationship with their child. And of course, that sounds like a good thing, but then the meetings never happen, the calls get missed, the court dates drag out, and somewhere in the shuffle, you realize this wasn't about the child at all. It was about the check. Because when support is tied to custody, any shift in the arrangement resets the numbers. And as long as the case is active, payments often stop or shrink. It becomes a waiting game, a standoff. And the person who filed the motion, they have nothing to lose. But you're still feeding the kids, paying the rent, holding everything together while the system holds your case in limbo. One woman told me her ex hadn't seen their son in over a year. Then, out of nowhere, he filed for joint custody, not because he wanted to be a father again, because his wages were about to be garnished. And this filing bought him time. Months went by, court appearances got postponed, and during it all, he paid nothing. The saddest part, these tactics work because they look legitimate. They hide behind legal rights and parental language, and by the time the judge realizes what's really happening, the damage has already been done. But some men don't even need the courtroom. The most dangerous ones know how to disappear while still collecting a paycheck and never letting the court see a dime of it. Not every man who skips child support disappears. Some stay visible on social media, in new relationships, even in town. But behind the scenes, they've made themselves invisible to the system, not by quitting work, not by filing legal motions, but by hiding money in plain sight. And here's how it works. Income gets funneled through someone else, a new girlfriend, a family member, a business account, anything that keeps it from being officially tied to their name. So when the court looks into their finances, it sees nothing. No salary, no bank balance, no assets worth chasing. But somehow, they're still driving a new car, living in a nicer place, and going on vacations they supposedly can't afford. It's one of the oldest tricks in the book, but it's also one of the hardest to prove, because unless you can track that money and connect it directly to them, the court's hands are tied, and they know it. They count on the fact that most parents can't afford investigators or legal teams to dig through shell accounts and digital transfers. They hide behind complexity, and the system, already overwhelmed and underfunded, often lets it slide. I've seen men list themselves as unemployed while running cash businesses out of a garage. Others claim they have no income while their partner covers every bill and conveniently collects all the profits under her name. On paper, he looks broke. In real life, he's just found a way to move the money where no one's looking. It's painful to watch, especially when you know your child is missing out on clothes, on school supplies, on basic stability, while the other parent manipulates the system to protect their lifestyle. They're not broke, they're just hiding the proof. And even when the truth eventually comes out, it rarely catches up to the damage that's already been done, because support payments don't erase years of stress, they don't refund lost time, and they certainly don't rebuild the trust that was broken. Now you know the 4 most common legal loopholes, each one designed to avoid accountability without ever breaking the law. But here's the real question: how many of them are being used right now without you even realizing it? So now you've seen it, 4 legal loopholes that some husbands use to avoid paying child support. And none of them require breaking the law. They just require knowing how to bend it. They quit good jobs and claim they're broke. They move to another state and make the system chase them. They file for custody, not to be involved, but to stall payments. And some of them get even more deceptive, hiding their income behind someone else's name so it's untouchable in court. And the worst part, most of these tactics work. Not because the parent left behind doesn't care, but because the system wasn't built to catch every trick. It was built to assume people would do the right thing. And when someone doesn't, it's the kids and the parent who stayed that pay the price. If you're going through this, or if you know someone who is, you're not alone. The frustration, the silence, the feeling that the system is watching it happen and doing nothing, that's real. But what's also real is the strength it takes to keep showing up for your child when the other parent won't. So don't just watch this and move on. Talk about it, share it, because the more we shine a light on these tactics, the harder they become to hide. And maybe one day the system will finally catch up. If this video hit home for you, leave a comment below. Tell us what surprised you the most or what you've experienced, because your story might be the one that helps someone else see the signs before it's too late. Thanks for watching, and until next time, stay strong for yourself and for the ones who count on you most.